There are moments in life when the burden feels heavier than ever before. You have been patient for so long that you begin to wonder if relief will ever come. You have cried in prayers that nobody heard, fought battles that nobody saw, and carried worries that nobody fully understands. Yet it is often in these very moments, when the heart feels exhausted and the soul feels tested beyond its limits, that Allah begins to send signs of His mercy and relief. A test does not last forever, and a storm was never meant to remain in the sky permanently. Sometimes Allah allows us to go through difficulties not to break us, but to build us, purify us, and bring us closer to Him than we have ever been before. Then, slowly and quietly, signs begin to appear. The heart feels a peace it did not have before. The burden starts becoming lighter. New opportunities emerge from unexpected places, and doors that once seemed permanently closed begin to open. Never assume that because you are struggling today, you will struggle forever. The one who sent the test is also the one who decides when it ends, and His mercy is always greater than the hardship you are carrying. Perhaps the relief you have been praying for is already closer than you think. And perhaps the chapter of ease has already begun to make its way toward your life. One of the most difficult parts of going through a test is not always the pain itself, but the uncertainty of not knowing when it will end. Human beings can endure many hardships when they know there is an end in sight. But when days turn into months and months turn into years, the heart begins to grow tired. Questions begin to appear in the mind during quiet moments. How much longer? Will things ever change? Have my prayers been heard? These questions do not make a person weak. They make a person human. There are people carrying burdens that nobody around them truly understands. Some are fighting financial struggles while trying to smile in front of their families. Some are carrying emotional pain that they hide behind laughter and ordinary conversations. Some are waiting for healing, while others are waiting for opportunities that seem to remain out of reach, no matter how hard they try. Every person has a story that others cannot fully see. Yet one of the beautiful realities of faith is that no test continues forever. Every night eventually gives way to the morning, and every season eventually changes. Allah did not create hardship as a permanent home for His servants. Hardship has a purpose, a lesson, and a duration known only to Him. Sometimes, before relief arrives, Allah begins to send signs that the season of difficulty is changing. These signs are not always dramatic or obvious. Often they are quiet and subtle, recognized only by the heart that has spent a long time turning toward Allah. One of the first signs is a sense of peace that begins to enter the heart even before circumstances improve. The problems may still exist, the bills may still need to be paid, and the questions may still remain unanswered. Yet something inside begins to change. The heart that was once drowning in panic starts to feel calmer. The fear that once controlled every thought begins to lose some of its power. This peace does not come from the situation itself. It comes from Allah. It is a reminder that while the storm may still be present around you, Allah is strengthening you within it. Sometimes the first relief Allah sends is not a change in circumstances, but a change in the heart that faces those circumstances. Another sign can be the way Allah begins opening small doors after a long period of closed ones. Perhaps opportunities start appearing from unexpected directions. Conversations happen that would not have happened before. Solutions begin to reveal themselves one step at a time. They may not solve everything immediately, but they create movement where there was once only stillness. Many people expect relief to arrive all at once like a sudden sunrise, but often it arrives more like dawn itself. First there is a little light, then more light, and then eventually the darkness disappears completely. If a person expects instant transformation, they may overlook the small mercies that are already appearing in their lives. Another sign can be the lessons that hardship leaves behind. There comes a moment when a person realizes they are no longer the same person who entered the test. They are stronger than they were before. Their patience has grown deeper. Their relationship with Allah has become more sincere. Their understanding of gratitude has changed completely. Perhaps before the hardship, they only remembered Allah during moments of ease. But during the trial, their prayers became more meaningful, and their dependence upon Him became more real. They discovered conversations with Allah in the late hours of the night that they had never experienced before. They learned to place their trust in Him when every other source of security disappeared. Sometimes Allah allows us to lose certain things so we can discover something greater that was hidden beneath them. A person may lose an opportunity and find a stronger connection with Allah. They may lose a source of comfort and discover resilience they never knew existed within themselves. They may lose a plan they carefully built and find themselves walking toward a future they never imagined but desperately needed. Another sign that relief may be approaching is when the test begins teaching more than it hurts. In the beginning, hardship often feels overwhelming. The pain dominates every thought and every emotion. Over time, however, the lessons become clearer than the suffering itself. A person begins to see wisdom where they once saw only confusion. They realize that the hardship taught them compassion for others who struggle. It taught them gratitude for blessings they once ignored. It taught them that strength does not come from never falling, but from standing up after every fall. Most importantly, it taught them that Allah was with them during every moment, even when they felt alone. There are also moments when Allah places people in our lives at exactly the right time. A conversation, a piece of advice, an opportunity, or even a simple act of kindness can arrive with perfect timing. These moments often feel too meaningful to be random. They feel like reminders that Allah has not forgotten us and never will. Sometimes the greatest sign that relief is approaching is the simple fact that despite everything you have faced, you are still standing. You survived days that you once believed would destroy you. You made it through nights that felt impossible to endure. You carried burdens that you never thought you could carry, yet somehow Allah gave you the strength to continue. The strength you have today is proof that Allah has been supporting you all along, even during the moments when you felt abandoned by your circumstances. You may not have noticed His mercy in the middle of the storm, but looking back you can see countless moments where He carried you through situations you could never have survived alone. Human beings often imagine that relief means the complete disappearance of every problem. Sometimes relief arrives in a different form. Sometimes Allah changes the situation, and sometimes He changes the person facing the situation. The burden may remain for a while longer, but the heart carrying it becomes stronger, calmer, and more trusting. There is beauty in knowing that Allah controls both the beginning and the end of every test. No hardship overstays the time He has written for it. No pain remains longer than His wisdom allows. The chapter you are living now may feel endless, but it is not endless to Allah. Perhaps the prayer you believe is delayed is already being answered in ways you cannot yet see. Perhaps doors are being prepared that you have not yet discovered. Perhaps the people, opportunities, and blessings that will change your life are already moving toward you at this very moment. The one who brought you through every previous difficulty has not changed, and His mercy has not become smaller. If He carried you through the storms of the past, He is fully capable of carrying you through the storm of today and leading you toward a tomorrow that will make sense of the pain you have been carrying for so long. One of the greatest mysteries of life is that the moments we would never choose for ourselves often become the moments that shape us the most. If human beings were allowed to design their own journeys, most of us would remove every hardship, every disappointment, every delay, and every painful experience from our lives. We would choose comfort over struggle, certainty over waiting, and ease over testing. Yet if we removed every difficulty from our story, we might also remove some of the lessons, strengths, and blessings that only hardship can create. When a person is going through a trial, it is almost impossible for them to imagine that anything good could come from it. Pain has a way of narrowing our vision. It convinces us that the present moment is all that exists and that our suffering will continue forever. But life has shown countless times that some of the people who carry the deepest wisdom are those who once carried the heaviest burdens. Trials have a unique ability to reveal parts of ourselves that comfort often keeps hidden. A person may never know how patient they can be until they are forced to wait. They may never discover their strength until they are asked to carry something heavy. They may never learn complete trust in Allah until every worldly source of certainty disappears. Many people spend years believing they are weak because they have never faced circumstances that required them to discover their strength. Then hardship enters their lives, and slowly they begin to realize that there was more resilience inside them than they ever imagined. They survive days they once thought would destroy them. They continue moving forward when every part of them wanted to stop. They discover courage not because they stopped feeling afraid, but because they kept going despite their fear. This transformation is one of the hidden gifts within every test. The person who enters hardship is often very different from the person who emerges from it. The trial leaves its mark, but not always in negative ways. Sometimes it leaves behind wisdom, maturity, gratitude, and a deeper understanding of life itself. There are lessons that can only be learned through experience. You can read about patience, but true patience is learned while waiting for an answer that does not come quickly. You can hear about trust in Allah, but true trust is developed when you have no idea what tomorrow will bring and still choose to believe in His wisdom. You can admire gratitude, but real gratitude often grows after losing something you once took for granted. Many people discover a relationship with Allah during difficult times that they never experienced during easy times. When life is comfortable, it is easy to become distracted by routines, ambitions, and responsibilities. But hardship has a way of removing distractions and directing the heart back toward its Creator. There are prayers that are made only because of pain. There are moments of sincerity that exist only because a person reached the limits of their own strength and finally turned completely toward Allah. There are tears shed in the middle of the night that become the beginning of a closeness with Allah that changes a person forever. Some people later look back on the hardest period of their lives and say something surprising. They say that although they would never wish to relive those moments, they would not erase them either. Not because the pain was enjoyable, but because the person they became through that pain was stronger, wiser, and closer to Allah than the person they were before. Trials also have a way of changing our priorities. During times of ease, people often become consumed by things that ultimately matter very little. Status, comparison, recognition, and temporary achievements can begin to dominate our thoughts. Then hardship arrives, and suddenly everything becomes simpler. A person realizes that health is a blessing greater than many possessions. Peace of mind becomes more valuable than status. Family becomes more important than competition. Faith becomes more precious than comfort. The trial strips away illusions and reminds us of what truly matters. There is also something beautiful about the empathy that hardship creates. People who have struggled often become more compassionate toward the struggles of others. The person who experiences financial difficulty understands the fear hidden behind another person's smile. The person who experiences loss recognizes pain that others may overlook. The person who spent years waiting for relief knows how powerful a kind word can be for someone who is still waiting. In this way, trials often prepare us not only for future blessings but also for serving other people. The wounds we survive sometimes become the reason we can help heal others. Many blessings cannot arrive before the lessons that prepare us for them. A person may pray for success while still needing humility to protect them from arrogance. Another may pray for influence while still needing wisdom to use it responsibly. Someone may pray for happiness while still needing healing from past pain that would prevent them from appreciating what they receive. Allah sees not only the blessing we desire, but also the person we must become in order to carry that blessing safely. Sometimes the preparation feels like delay because we cannot yet see what is being built inside us. There are moments when people become frustrated because life feels unfair. They look around and wonder why others seem to receive blessings more quickly or face fewer struggles. Comparison becomes a source of sadness because they assume that an easier journey must be a better journey. But every soul has its own path and its own lessons to learn. Some people are tested with hardship while others are tested with comfort. Some are tested with waiting while others are tested with receiving quickly. The form of the test changes, but the purpose remains the same: to bring us closer to Allah and help us become the people we were created to be. It is possible that the blessing you are waiting for could have arrived years ago, but Allah knew that receiving it then would not have been good for you. Perhaps your character needed strengthening. Perhaps your heart needed healing. Perhaps your faith needed deepening. Perhaps there were lessons you could only learn through waiting. The human heart often focuses on what it has lost or what it has not yet received. Allah sees what is being built quietly beneath the surface. He sees the patience growing in your heart, the sincerity developing in your prayers, and the wisdom forming through your experiences. There are changes taking place within you that you may not recognize until years later. One day you may look back and realize that while you were asking Allah to remove the test, He was using the test to prepare you for a chapter of life that could never have been entrusted to the person you used to be. Perhaps the struggle that feels unbearable today is shaping the strength you will need tomorrow. Perhaps the waiting that frustrates you is teaching the patience that your future blessings will require. Perhaps the test that has brought tears to your eyes is also bringing your heart closer to Allah in ways that comfort never could have achieved. And perhaps one day you will look back at this chapter not only as a time of pain, but as the season when Allah quietly transformed you into someone capable of carrying blessings that once seemed impossible to reach.